I would request our first speaker, the most venerable Dr. C.H. Dambajav, he's from Mongolia, to give his presentation, Professor.
Dear friends, distinguished scholars, first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to organizers, India Foundation, and another university. I do not want to take a long time. I should read out my paper. Four Noble Truths, Essence of the Buddhist Philosophy, my paper name. Four Noble Truths are traditionally identified as the first teaching given by the Buddha, considered one of the most important teachings in Buddhism. The Four Noble Truths contain the essence of the Buddhist teachings. It was these four principles that the Buddha comes to understand during the meditation on the Bodhi tree. It was the first teaching, first turning of Dharma well, given by the Buddhist Buddha, which explained Four Noble Truths. Pali terms Arya Satya, translated as noble truths. Four noble truths are truths of the noble ones and truths of realities. They are truths because real and which to the four truths. The theme Arya can be translated as a noble, not ordinary, valuable, precious, and pure. The noble truths are best known from the presentation in the Dharma Chakravartana Sutra text. This sutra is considered by the Buddhists to be a record of the first teaching given by Gautama Buddha in Saranath after his attained enlightenment. The sutra contains the topics such two extremes to be avoided: middle way, the noble eightfold path, the four noble truths, the 12 insights, proclamation release from the rebirth, rising of the Dhamma, K2 Khandana, proclamation of the Devas of the Buddha sitting in the well of Dhamma in motion, and response of the Buddha Khandana. Four noble truths are given the sutra. Now this bhikkhus is the noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering. Union with that, what is this displacing the suffering, separation from what is placing is suffering, not to go what one wants in suffering. Birth and the five aggregate subjects claiming of suffering. Now this bhikkhus is the noble truths of the origin suffering. It is this craving which leads to becoming accompanied by delight and lust. Seeking delight, that is craving the sensual pleasure, craving for the becoming, craving misbecoming. Now this bhikkhus is the noble truths of the cessation of suffering. It is remainless fading away. The cessation of the saving, some craving the giving of the reunification of its freedom from it, not non-reliance. Now this right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Four noble truths are true suffering, true cause, cessation, and the true path. They are often referred as the four central principles of Buddhism, Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths. Eightfold path. Okay. But inside, 8 stages are not to be taken in order, but rather support reforms in each. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These 8 stages can be grabbed out into wisdom, ethical contact, the meditation. Buddha can describe it the Eightfold Path as the meanings enlightenment like raft for crossing a river. Once one has reached opposite side shore, one no longer needs a river and can leave it behind. There are numerous different Buddhist schools which have evolved over many centuries in different corners in the world. In either Indian Theravada Buddhism, Buddha transcended physical existence after died, proclaiming that he was the internally enlightened and in sense non-physical. Accordingly, Buddha had no one meaning. And so the Four Noble Truths understood simultaneously is one moment in sights, not in the 4 distinct stages. This is liberation or enlightenment itself. In Mahayana Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths gradually less prominent because of the importance of cultivating shunyata and taking bodhisattva path, altruism, or serving others. The Vajrayana or Tibetan Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths situated from Mahayana commentaries such as Abhya Samaya Lamkara Sutra, and the 4th truths presented 5 aspects, not 8. These teachings also present 16 characteristics of Four Noble Truths taken from the sutra, providing us brain with great deal facilitate the realization of their goals, such awareness, achievement, pacification, and deliverance. Cultivating awareness reality allows Buddhists to deal effectively with the delusion, interpretation, and the perception. The meditation and awareness developed so that they can escape from samsara and take all sentient beings with them. In this way, the habitual view of the human conditions can be transformed, the deep insights into the meaning of life can be gained. Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path are profound teaching in Buddhism. These teachings rarely can cut off 3 poison: hatred, desire, ignorance. Practicing both teachings will motivate us and transcend suffering and achieve liberation. Besides that, the Eightfold Path can train our mind, become more conscious and mindfulness, so whatever action we did will be virtuous and benefit others. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much for 2 reasons. One, she starting from distinction between phenomena and noumena, the teachings of Buddha in Dhammacakra Sutra, emphasizing on suffering. Suffering is a fact of in our life, and how to eradicate suffering. Eightfold Path and leads to Nirvana, very interestingly presented, based on the text. And I remind that in the Hindu tradition also, in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is called Bhartma, is a term which is also Pantha, it's a way. Anyway, thank you so much, sir. And you completed timely. So we have our second speaker, Professor Chirapat Prapandavidya, is from Thailand, head of the department. It is Silpakorn University. So Professor Prapandavidya Please make a presentation.
Reverend monks, distinguished scholars, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer, the India Foundation and Nalanda University for giving me the opportunity to participate in this conference, which is very much related to Southeast Asia, especially Thailand. Because I won't speak stressing on more on the philosophical point of view, but I mean straight more on the cultural relation between India and Southeast Asia, especially Thailand. My paper will be Nirvana in the context of early Thailand. So according to the tradition, the Thai Pali scholar believed that King Ashoka sent two Thera, namely Sona and Uttara, to the Suvarnabhumi, which is located somewhere in Southeast Asia. And this is according to the text called Mahavamsa, composed in Sri Lanka in 6th century. But according to the early epigraphic evidence, we have only the inscription in Pali and Sanskrit dated back only to 5th century CE. Most of the inscription in Pali regarding the Buddhism found in the central part of Thailand, the inscription in Pali and Sanskrit was found in southern Thailand, and its contents of the inscription is more related to the early teaching of the Buddha. And it doesn't mention specifically about Nibbana, but the content is Nibbana, because this is the final ultimate reality that the Buddhists should try to attain. Nibbana is one of the names given to the Dhamma, attained by the Buddha at the foot of the tree of knowledge on the bank of Niranchara river, at present Bodh Gaya, Bihar state. What Nirvana is can be seen from the thought arose in the Buddha's mind when he was at the foot of Ajapala banyan tree. Thus, the Dhamma attained by the Buddha with difficulty is profound, difficult to perceive and understand, which bring quietude of heart, which exalted, which is unattainable by reasoning, abstruse, intelligible only to the wise. Those who were given to desire, intent upon desire, delighting in desire, the law of causality and the chain of causation would be a matter difficult to understand. More difficult for those people to understand would be also the extinction of all sankhara, the getting rid of all these substrata of existence, the destruction of desire, the absence of passion, quietude of heart, and nirvana. This is the thought arose after his enlightenment. And he was reluctant to preach his doctrine because it's too difficult to understand by common people. But Sahampati Brahma had to intervene and requested him not to do so, as there were some men who may be able to understand his teaching. The Buddha then yielded to the Brahma entreaty. The truth which is attained by the Buddha, or Siddhartha, at the foot of the tree of knowledge, by which he became the Buddha, the enlightened one, is known in Pali as Paticcasamuppada, and in Sanskrit as Paticcasamuppada, the causal chain of causation. After enlightenment, the Buddha sat cross-legged for 7 days, enjoying the happiness of deliverance for the whole night. Of the 7th day, he reflected on the Paticcasamuppada in direct and in reverse order thus: from ignorance spring sankhara, from sankhara spring consciousness, from consciousness spring name and form, and last, from existence spring birth, from birth spring old age and death, grief, lamentation, suffering, dejection, and despair. Such is the origination of this whole mass of suffering. Again, in reverse order, by destruction of ignorance, which consists in complete absence of lust, the sankhara are destroyed. By destruction of sankharas, consciousness is destroyed. By destruction of consciousness, name and form destroy, and so on. And last, the dukkha, or suffering, also destroy when we destroy the jati. After reflection on the Paticcasamuppada, the Buddha came to the conclusion by way of 3 joyous arrows into 3 stages. Thus, if a wise man concentrates strenuously he will see firstly that on Dhamma, or the phenomena, have the causes of their existence. Secondly, that the causes which condition the existence also come into an end. Thirdly, that eventually the wise man will stand triumphantly destroying Mara army, like the sun diffusing light in the sky. This Paticcasamuppada was first found written in a copper plate of Khurram, found in Pakistan. It means in 19 CE. That means the teaching of Samutpada was recorded in letter as old as 99 CE. The Udana, or the joyous utterance of the Buddha mentioned above, was also found in inscription written in Pali in Brahmi script of Pallawas period, discovered in central part of Thailand, also very early in 5th century. The doctrine of Paticcasamuppada and Udana is summed up in the following widely known Pali words: Ye Dhamma Hetupapava, Te Sang Hetung Tathagato, Te Sanjayo Nirotho, Evam Vadi Mahasamano. The Tathagata spoke about the cause of Dhamma, phenomena, which appear through some causes, and also about the cause which bring about the cessation of those Dhamma. The great ascetic, that means the Buddha, always teaches such doctrine. The verse was said by Venerable Assaji, one of the first 5 disciples of the Buddha, when asked by a wandering ascetic named Sariputta to give the summary of the Buddha teaching. Having heard this verse, Sariputta realized the truth, first state of their spiritual truth. Surprisingly, a large number of the inscriptions beginning with Ye Dhamma, that date to the 6th century, 5th century, were found severally in several places in the central part of Thailand. There are also a number of inscriptions in Sanskrit words beginning with Ye Dharma in Sanskrit, were also found in southern part of Thailand as well as in the Malaysia or Malay Peninsula, almost in the same period, 5th century CE. The Thai counterpart of the Ye Dhamma in Sanskrit also were found in the southern part of Thailand. The Sanskrit words beginning with Ye Dhamma in Sanskrit appear in Mahavastu Avadana, the text in Sanskrit of Lokotravadin school of Buddhism, which is one of the Buddhist Theravadin school that use Sanskrit. The verse was said to have the verse was said to his friend Moggallana by Sariputta, who had realized the truth after having listened to the short discourse from Venerable Upasena, one of the disciples of the Buddha. So the account in the Mahavastu and the account in the Vinaya Pitaka in Pali is somewhat different. After having decided to preach his doctrine, the Buddha proceeded to Isipatana, the deer park, near Varanasi, where his former 5 disciples resided. He delivered to them the first sermon, Dhamma Chakkappavatana Sutta. I think I won't repeat because the Venerable who spoke before me has spoke about it already. It is also interesting to note that the text of the Dhamma Chakkappavatana Sutta is found inscribed on a fragment of a stone pillar supporting the wheel of the law, discovered also in the central part of Thailand. It belonged to the 5th century CE, only part of the Dhammachakka because the stone was broken. And another stone inscription bearing the part of the text also found on 2 fragments of a Dhammachakka, also found in the central part of Thailand. Epigraphic evidence show that the early Buddhism in Thailand especially attached more importance to the early teaching of the Buddha. And it seemed that the Buddhist monk preachers follow intention of Emperor Ashoka, which is expressed in his inscription known as the Kolkata by rock inscription, in which practice according to Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and the Upatisapanha, that means Ye Dhamma, was encouraged by the emperor. So I come to the conclusion. The main aim of the doctrine expounded by the Buddha in the Paticca Samuppada, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and the Udana is the destruction of suffering through the attainment of true knowledge, which is known in Pali as Vidya, as Jnana, as Panya, as Dhammachakshu, as Chakshu and Aloka. The Buddha propounded the Paticca Samuppada, the cause and chain of causation, which in the end leads to suffering. In order to get rid of the suffering, one must stop the chain of causation, beginning with stopping raga, passion, or attachment completely, which is conditioned by avidya. The Buddha, however, gave only the theory, but did not give the means to get rid of the chain of causation. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, he pointed out that the middle way to put an end to suffering, that is the eightfold path, middle eightfold path, which also spoke by the venerable who spoke before me, so I won't talk about that. By combination of the Paticcasamuppada with the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Buddha successfully made people understand the truth he had attained at the foot of the Bodhi tree. During the period ranging from 5th to 8th century, the people who inhabited central part of Thailand must have followed early Buddhism propagated by the monks of Theravada school that used Pali in their scripture, whereas the people who inhabited southern Thailand and Malay Peninsula must have followed early Buddhism propagated by monks of Sarasvativadin school, a section of Theravadin school that used Sanskrit in their scripture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Prapandavidya. He, in fact, presented the paper in consideration of Nirvana in early Thailand. The Thailand was known to India as Subarna Bhumi. And also we came to know from his deliberations how important was Brahmi Lipi in its translation. So, and Mahavastu Abodhana, emphasizing more on Paticca Samutpada, which in Sanskrit, Pratitta Samutpada, one of the most fundamental teachings of Buddhism. However, the Mahayana school, we have different interpretations of Pratitta Samutpada, especially by Nagarjuna's Pratitta Samutpada, Ridhaya Karika. There are 7 verses. Now, this book is available at the Tibetan Institute in Sarnath, and emphasized on how the transition from India to Thailand, the transition of Buddhism, which is a very strong cultural tie, which is philosophically important, no doubt, but philosophy can provide a strong ground of cultural tie, and even in these days to our international understanding and international relations. I hope his focus on the paper, we can expect that if we develop our cultural tie, then it may provide us a better future of international relations and understanding. Thank you so much, sir. Now, our next speaker is Professor Hwang Soonil. He's the Director of Electronic Buddhist Text and CultureContent Institute, Dongguk University, South Korea, is from Seoul. Professor.
Venerable members of Sangha, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, my name is Soonil Hwang, and I'm from Dongguk University, Seoul, South Korea. This is my great honor to be able to have a chance to give a talk, especially here in Rajgir. And I feel like I'm at the heart of Buddhism, and I feel like the Buddha was actually sitting over that Saptapahana cave and give a power to me to deliver the essence of Buddhism, which is Nirvana. So actually, the Nirvana is one of the subjects when I was studying, when I was at Oxford University. And then my book about the metaphor and literalism in Buddhism was published in Routledge publisher, year 2006. And the main subject is Nirvana. So today I try very quick to talk about unique feature of Buddhist Nirvana, which consists of 2 steps Buddhist Nirvana consists of sa-upadisesa Nibbana and an-upadisesa Nibbana, which means Nirvana during life and Nirvana at death. Why that kind of thing happening? And what could be its meaning, especially in the contemporary society? I try to deliver this very short talk. In Sutta Nipata, when you are looking at very carefully, there was a dialogue between Mara and the Buddha. They usually talk each other very interesting talk. And one of the talk, Mara said to the Buddha, cow owner become happy because of the cow. A man with the son become happy because of the son. Possession is a source of happiness. Anyone who hasn't got any possession, their life will be miserable. This is a kind of attack toward the Buddhist monks who cannot have anything, in their position. In that verse, the Buddha answered back, cow owner becomes sad because of a cow. A man with the sons becomes sad because of the son. Possession is a source of your suffering. Anyone who hasn't got any possession, there is no need to become suffer. So this is a very nice talk. But we usually say in this talk, the Buddha actually used the meaning, two different meaning of the word and answer back. What I mean is that we become happy because of the outside object. Men watching very beautiful woman become very happy. Men watching Mercedes-Benz, we become very happy. But we become suffer not because of the outside object, but because of our internal attachment toward that sort of thing. For example, when I was third year university undergraduate student, I have a girlfriend, but we fight each other at the 3 months. And then I feel like I can't endure anymore. So whenever I go to the university, she was there. So I thought, she is the source of my suffering. So if I no longer suffer, I will not suffer. So I decided to have a 2-year compulsory military service in South Korea. So after 2 years, I coming back to the university, and she's just still there as a graduate student in the history department. But miraculously, there is no more pain in me, because in ordinary life, we all thought source of our misery is outside. We all try not to be with them, not try to have some distance from there. But actually, the source of our suffering is not outside there. Inside there, our attachment toward outside object, we can't achieve it, we become suffer. So Buddhism, one of the key features about Buddhism is that Buddhist practice not aiming at our action or our object we desire outside. We try to control inside of our mind. Even though we are surrounded by lots of things, we become engaged in having some kind of a passion or hatred. We become indifferent. So the mind we are aiming at achieving is the lake where there is no more wave, through which we can see things outside as it is very clearly. So that is one of the pictures. So Buddhism trying to have remove or destroy all our internal attachment. So anyone who completely destroy all of our attachment inside, this is Nirvana during life. And that man, when he passed away, he finally achieved Nirvana at death. So sa upadisesa Nirvana, Nibbana with a remainder of clinging from the Theravada interpretation, Kilesha Nirodha, which means destruction of our defilement, the destruction of our attachment inside, and Anupadisesa Nibbana, Nirvana without remainder of clinging, means Khanda Nirvana or Skanda Nirvana, or destruction of our birth body, or destruction of the thing we got when we were birth. consists of 5 aggregates. So this is a kind of a Buddhist thing to do. So when we think about the situation during the time of the Buddha, Buddhism was a new religion surrounded by 6 different, new religions, starting with the Jainism or Ajivikas or Sanjayas and so on. Especially when we think about Jainism, it's one of the most leading ascetic tradition in India, and still Jainism is leading this area. But in order to achieve nirvana in Jainism, in order to become the winner against all odds, you should be die. Voluntary starvation to death is still said to be the best way to become jina or to achieve nirvana there. So India, this is what I like India. Indian people, from the life and death, they have no fear. No, death is no problem. If I'm aiming at achieving something, no problem, I can do it. So this is the one thing I like Indian tradition and Indian philosophy and Indian practice. But in order to achieve liberation, in order to become a saint, only when you were dying, it's a bit too far, especially in this kind of a contemporary world. So when we think about the Buddha, when could be the time Buddha think about this kind of a 2-step nirvana? I can say before the Buddha became enlightened, around 6 years, he did hush asceticism in the mountain. And he just 1 grain a day, and he was almost dying. And then that moment, very nice Indian lady, Sujata, appeared in front of the Buddha and offered the food. So the Buddha thought, life is already miserable, and I'm almost dying. But if I'm dying without achieving any knowledge, without achieving any truth, my life will be useless. So that actually makes the Buddha accepting the food. So I usually say to my students that decision is the choosing of the life. The life is more important than death. We are living here, so living here in this world is more important to the death. So the Buddha chose the life, and then he changed the meaning of nirvana during that time. It can only be achieved at the time of the death. He actually changed it. First step, we can achieve it while we are alive. And second one, we finally liberated at the time of the death. So in this first step, this is a total confirmation that there is no more rebirth in my life. So that total confirmation, we usually call it Samma Sambodhi. Samma Sambodhi is a perfect awakening of the knowledge that there is no more rebirth in me, so that I will not suffer anymore. So this is ideal of a Buddhist nirvana. So when we think about this point in this contemporary world, I have to say Buddhism nowadays is self-developing. So at the time of the Buddha, Buddhism is among the most effective way to have their society behind, to become a monk or wandering ascetics and living their society completely. But nowadays, Buddhism are developing, it is kind of self-developing into the world, and the Buddhism in Korea, in many Asian countries, starting to be used as a means to have a kind of a treatment, to give a kind of a new method to deal with the stress, to deal with the problem we are facing in this contemporary, fast-changing life. So the meaning of nirvana within the Buddhism actually show, while we are very busy, even though we are not dying, we can do something while we are alive. So that's the one of the key feature of the nirvana. So the Buddha first talk about this Sa Upadisesa nirvana almost 2,500 years ago, but still in this contemporary moment, his message is still, for me, very powerful and a very correct means to deal with our contemporary problem in this world and in this society. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Soonil. In fact, we all are in the version of Maro, and Soonil has shown us the way how to overcome this version. There are three Akushala Moolam, roots of unrighteousness. This is Loba, Desha, and Moha. So I think how to overcome these cravings. He has shown two ways also and explained the relevance of these early Buddhist teachings of Nirvana in our contemporary days in a beautiful way. Thank you so much. With this, we invite our next speaker, Professor Shashibala. She is the Dean, Center of Indology, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, New Delhi. Madam Shashibala, please.
Respected Professor Dilip Mohanta, chairing this session, distinguished co-panelists, the gurus, the most venerable monks and nuns, distinguished scholars, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to say that I'm thankful to both the organizations, the India Foundation and Nalanda University. My association with Nalanda University began in 2006 when the first conference for revival of Nalanda was organized in Singapore. And since then, we have been thinking, oh, nothing is happening. When will the university come up? And now it's a great delight, and I'm thankful to the Vice-Chancellor here that she has taken the task so fast. I was just told by some of your faculty members, I was asking them that so much of work has been done, and by next year you will be shifting all the academic center. So I congratulate you, thank you, and it's a great pleasure for all of us who work on Buddhism, and it's our dream to have a new Nalanda University. Today, we have the best of education, the best of job, best of salaries, best of industrial and scientific development, luxuries, advancement, everything is there that was never before. But on the other side, the suffering, the depression, all sorts of problems that are there were also never before in the world. From time immemorial, we have been chanting so many mantras. For example, the Shanti Patha, Om Dyau Shanti Antarikshadham Shanti. We are praying for Shanti, for peace in all the spheres. Peace within and peace without. Peace in the earth, peace in the sky, peace in the waters, peace everywhere in the vegetation. But where is the peace? Including India. The most outstanding scriptures are bequeathed by the Indian visionary sages. They made India Jagat Guru, the cultural leader of the world. But still, what is happening? Today we are living in an age of clashes, both civilizational and individual, arising from within and without, suffering from militancy, imbalance of power, declining social and national structures. Bombs are shattering our lives. Extreme hegemonies and desires are fueled by the materialistic approach of life. So I decided to write a paper on Nirvana, the blissful state to fight the clashes arising from within and without. The policy makers are looking for ways and means for a blissful life, a joyful society, which leads to sustainable development, peaceful coexistence, global harmony through insightful dialogue and meaningful conversation. New paradigms are to be explored. Visiting the age-old philosophy of life, again I would say bequeathed by the visionaries, the sages. And that philosophy is pervasive, it's perennial, it's multipolar, it's across civilizational differences. The theoretical and practical applications are to be deeply understood. And the philosophy has to percolate up to the lowest strata of the society from the topmost philosophical speculations that have been done by the distinguished scholars. What is happening? We have polluted the minds and the world around us. Harmonious coexistence of humanity and the cosmos requires ultimate knowledge of life. You may call it Vidya or Abhijna, to eliminate the imbalance of power and clash of civilizations. There is chaos all around. We have to find out ways and means how to share this philosophy with the youth. Can we incorporate these philosophical speculations into our education system? Can we insert some stuff into our school books so we can start molding the minds from a tender age? What we as parents are doing today with our children, what we are giving them, the targets that the parents are giving, unfortunately, are the high packages, but not to become a good person, a human being who can save the world from disaster. I would request the Vice-Chancellor here that maybe we can devise some means to find out ways how educational institutions can be joined, we can join together, we can join hands to do something in terms of educating the youth, or you can say the children. An enlightened mind is the matrix of all matter which arises from within. It leads to the blissfulness and peace. Then Manovijnana subsides the flooded stream of cravings. When one aspires for Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, when one becomes a fighter, a warrior of light, finding solutions for the present suffering is the most important. The Buddha himself, he rejected speculations concerning the transcendental absolute. His primary concern was for the existential plight of the man and the solution for human suffering. According to him, it was more important to solve the problems of the present rather than conjecture about the nature of the unknowable. I'm not going to repeat what has already been said, so I skip a few things, what has been said in Dhammapada and all these things. Our distinguished scholar from South Korea, he has said so beautifully, with such a heart and soul about Nirvana. When people say entering Nirvana, then common people think that it is a place. No, Nirvana is beyond space and time. It is beyond definition. It can only be experienced. Many scriptures and commentaries speak of entering into Nirvana, but it cannot be entered in the same way as one enters a room, or the way he might imagine entering into heaven. The Theravadin scholar Thanissaro Bhikkhu said, neither Sansara nor Nirvana is a place. Sansara is a process of creating places and wandering through them, and Nirvana is the end of that process. Nirvana is an act, a process, and its outcome. It is an action noun. As an action noun, it signifies the act and effect of blowing out. So I'm not going into the details of what the Nirvana means, Nir and Vana, how it comes from Sanskrit. Another point that I would like to raise very quickly, as soon as we say Nirvana of Buddha, or Parinirvana, or Mahaparinirvana, people immediately think that it is the death of Buddha, and they associate it with the death of Buddha, which is not. innumerable images of Buddha lying in a restful posture. Restful, I would like to emphasize on. Calm and free from all kinds of sufferings. Mostly they are taken as portrayal of death of the Buddha, but in this state, he is actually liberated from sufferings, escaped from the material world to the world of bliss, that is the final rest. I would like to give just one example from Kizil caves in China, in Xinjiang region. When I saw, there are a huge number of caves in Kizil. When I saw the caves one after the other, there was something similar in all of them. The main statues, of course, are all destroyed in all the caves. But whatever remains is, behind the central pillar, there is a Buddha in rest. I would not say Parinirvana Buddha, or I'm not using that term to confuse. So the sleeping Buddha, some people say resting Buddha. So in all the caves, there was a Buddha sleeping. Then, and looking at the murals, which are not destroyed on the walls behind the central pillar, I could feel when I was, when I tried to compare them with the scenes of Sukhavati, that it seems that there is something that they want to say about the transmigration of the soul from this to the Sukhavati, or the heavenly abode. Then I asked the archaeologists there, did you find anything behind the central pillar where a box can be fitted? It was so surprising that there were niches behind in the central pillar to insert the boxes, and normally what is done is to keep the relics of the deceased person, and these caves were built one after the other for the members of the royal family. So I could come to a conclusion that, that these caves were built and associating Buddha with death. Now, another point that I would like to raise is, from where does the problems arise? Problems, all of you have been talking about, that they come from the mana. Mana eva manushyanam sharirasto mahanripo. So, this is the mana that we have to change. And in this 5-feet body, we have all the good and the bad qualities. When we enter a Buddhist monastery, especially in the Lamaist world, you will see that you go to Ladakh, you go to Bhutan, outside, first of all, what do you see is a circle with 6 levels of existence. Bhuta, Pishacha, there are Pretas, there are Rakshasas, demons, animals, human beings, and Devas. So all these qualities exist in all of us. Now it is up to us how we maintain our balance. If the desires are more, then that means we have more of Pishachic qualities. If we are more angry, then it means we have the demonic qualities. If we are so much hungry, there is so insatiable hunger is there in our lives, means we are like animals. What is the difference between an animal and a man? Human being, he can think, but not the animal. Animal is the Sanskrit word pashu comes from pash, and Manushya comes from man. Man means he can chint, he can think. So when a person has more of divine qualities, transcendental qualities, then in this life, everybody has that seed and he can become a deva. Hridayastham bhavaya devam. So this is nirvana. Desires are our strength and weaknesses, both. Extreme desires carry a danger of becoming aloof from the great whole, and the great whole has to be maintained within the framework of righteousness. For this, we have to dissolve the ahankara, and we have to be more towards vayankara when we work together. So the individualism, the approach is given by the Western philosophy, which I think has given